Hey there, all you creepers and reapers. Welcome to another episode of the Femme Fatalities. I'm your co-hostess, Anna, and I'm here with...
Hey, Grievelings and Frightlings, it's Margaret, and thank you for joining me and Anna as we continue on one of our journeys through a series of movies that makes us afraid of daily items and household items and things we encounter in our daily life. Anna, what movies are we talking about today?
Well, we're calling all aboard because our last stop is ahead for Final Destination. We're talking about 4 and 5, and we cannot wait for the new one to come out so we can tell you guys all about that as well.
Yes.
But before we get too far into it, some trigger warnings. Let's see. Racist behavior, car accidents, fire, uh, what else? Really weird death circumstances, um, death itself.
Mm-hmm.
What else, Margaret?
Racism, classism, the bridge collapse. So I guess like major accidents,
Mhm.
bullying. The log truck makes an appearance in
Yeah.
5. So if you were still
Mhm.
traumatized from
It's
2, 3,
back.
yeah, 2, yeah,
Yeah.
it's back. Yes.
Yeah. And also,
So,
corporate communications. That's a big
mhm,
one. Just the work group in general. That could be a trigger for a lot of people,
yeah,
especially with these different character archetypes that we're going to run into. Um,
workplace dynamics.
yes, absolutely. And I think that we've agreed that Final Destination 4 is the worst one so far of all of them.
Yes.
Um, it's just,
So bad.
it's it's not great. It's,
No.
the kills are really funny.
Mhm.
So we've got that going for us.
Lots of fire. Lots of fire kills in the
Mhm.
fourth one. We have the creepy racist that tries to kill the security guard. And then the security guard's arc where he keeps trying to kill himself only then to be killed like the next day. I was like,
Yeah, it's like, oh.
why? Why?
But I actually felt kind of happy for him because his wife had died. So I'm like, oh, at least they're together in the spirit world now. So it kind of
Mhm.
worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just positive silver lining there. Um, but yeah, I think that the fourth one just it's I think they had to like get it out. Maybe they signed a contract and that one was due and it was just like, okay, here it is.
Yes. Because it's
Yeah.
bad. It is.
Hmm.
Even like in my notes, I was looking at my notes, the beginning felt rushed. Like in 1 through 3 and 5, the beginning has like this poeticness
Hmm.
to it where
Yes.
their deja vu like has this flow to it. 4
Hmm.
just felt rushed where it was like, okay, notice that he's noticing this. Notice that he's noticing this. Notice that
Hmm.
this is happening, and not with the other ones where it's like,
Hmm.
oh, this
Yeah.
is something that's happening.
Yeah. And I think too, the mysticism aspect in the fourth one where people keep coming up and they're like, what did you see? What's going to happen to me? Like that doesn't happen as much in the other ones. So I just thought it was maybe they were trying something different and it just wasn't as effective as the other movies.
No, not at all. It was just weird.
Yeah. It was very strange. Um just and the characters were not likable.
No,
So
none
it
of them.
was like let them all go. I will say the pool scene though, I mean, that is something that has happened. I remember seeing it on like Inside Edition or something when I was in high school, and it scared me. Like I wouldn't go in the pool for the longest time because it freaked me out so bad. But I thought that that was clever
Mhm.
overall.
Yes, that was it was clever. Yeah, I agree. whenever, like, when that scene comes up, it reminds me, so the author of Fight Club wrote a book, Stranger Than Fiction, where he talks
Mhm.
about like strange things that happen like that. And that's what I think of. I'm like, I think about him talking about that in the book.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
it was cringe.
Yeah, but it's definitely, if you're gonna watch the series, it's mandatory that you watch it. I did like the at the end, like the cartoon artwork that showed a bunch of like the new kills and the old kills. I thought that was fun.
Mhm.
That was cute.
Yes.
So the credits were kind of neat.
Best part of the movie. So let me go into 5. And if you haven't watched them yet, stop
Mhm.
now because I'm jumping into a big spoiler with 5. I
Mhm.
love how at the end of 5, you're like, oh,
Yeah, like you,
oh.
yeah. And I thought it was really good. I think that even though you could tell there was like a slight difference in fashion and just overall appearance of people, I think that they connected it really well, and it was just like ding ding ding.
Yes.
And they
I,
do that with Jeepers Creepers too.
mm-hmm.
Um and they're out of order. So technically number 3 was supposed to be number 2, I think. So they're not in order, but it's nice to have that connectivity and kind of circle it all around. So I'm interested to see how the new Final Destination incorporates that, if anything at
I
all.
think it does. The last preview I saw looks like gr- grandma dies or grandma hands over a book. So it looks like
Mm-hmm.
grandma survived
Yeah.
something and
Mm-hmm.
grandma has kept her family alive, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
really an interesting concept. I'm curious to
Yeah.
see if she ties into any of the
Yeah.
or the people that died in
Mm-hmm.
the like one-offs, like, oh, Devon Sawa was actually a cousin or something whose family didn't
Yeah.
listen to her or something.
Yeah. And it could be that. And yeah, looking at the preview for the new one, um, how she avoids death when in her youth, hands down, bar none, very surprising, very excited about that. So
Yes. Can't
yeah, but
wait. We're gonna be there. We're gonna watch it, see
mhm.
how they all come together. Yes, 4, not good. 5, enjoyable. It was
Yeah,
not my
it was
favorite
okay.
out of
Yeah.
the
I mean,
5.
some of the kills were funny, like the guy at the massage parlor. I mean, that has to be one of my favorite out of the entire series. And I think that the employee who's doing the acupuncture, she makes it so entertaining. Just her comments, like, you stupid, of course I understand English. I just don't want to have to interact with you. And,
Yes.
I loved it. I was like, yes, yes, this is fantastic. So I think just the humor aspect of that one, it really, not only did the kills give a lot of laughter, I think that some of the outside characters that are in some of the environments just really made me laugh quite a bit.
I agree. Yeah. I don't feel like I've got a lot to say about these two. They're
Mm-mm.
watching
Yeah.
for the kills,
Mhm.
for going prepared for just not the best movie. I mean, they're entertaining. They are.
Yeah. They're doing their job. Like, they're keeping you entertained. They're making you laugh. I do think, what was it? 4, when there's no Undertaker, like, even that was missing. And then he's back in 5. So I'm interested to see, because he passed away, what if there's going to be, oh God, what if he's like the central connection to everything? This is like my new theory for the Final Destination. So, like Tony Todd's character, the Undertaker, mortician guy, what if he has some sort of centralized connection to like the entire final film somehow? What if he was like best friends with the grandma? Or they experienced something together, or he was at the restaurant, or now I'm getting all like excited and creative now. So who knows?
Yes, I'm
But
excited. I'm with you. Like,
yeah,
how does Tony Todd fit in?
yeah,
And thank you for bringing that up because that was a disappointment. And for
mhm,
where was he? He just seems to be this ominous and
yeah,
also grounding presence, almost like he's
yeah,
kind of like death happens. Like,
Yeah, like it's
I'll,
part of
I'll,
life.
I'll throw
Yeah,
you a bone. Good luck
yeah,
with it, but don't
right.
know if
And
it's gonna help you.
I love too, I think it is the fifth one, how they're like, why are you always here? And he's like, I'm just doing my job.
Hmm.
Like, this is my job. That's why I'm here. And I just
Yes.
really enjoy like the dry comic relief. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that the one thing we can learn about all of these movies is that life happens, death
Hmm.
happens, and
Yeah.
you can't avoid it. Um, we're all going to die, and that looks different for all of us. And even talking or thinking about it looks different for all of us. But it is healthy to talk about death as much it is to talk about life. It's kind of funny. I know in my family, certain family members, whenever we have a birthday, eventually at some point we start talking about death and what it might look like when we die and people that have died and different experiences. And I don't know if that's something that's unique to my family, or if it's a cultural thing for us. If it's something that you do too, please let us know. Comment if it's something that completely took you by surprise and freaks you out. Comment on that too. Let us know. Um, Margaret, what do you make of that? Do you think that it's something that more people do than not, or maybe people should start doing? What's your
I
take
think
on
it's
being comfortable
something
to talk about death?
I think it's something people should start doing, to start talking about death, because it, like you said, it's there. And I love that your family really normalizes that, to be like, no, like death is gonna happen. Let's talk about it, because we're not gonna escape it.
Mhm.
So how do we discuss it?
Absolutely. And you know what? If you are struggling, maybe with, a family member or a friend or someone in your life that might be dying, or perhaps you're someone who is dying, or you're just struggling with the concept of life and death, and how do we make meaning of life while we have it, and understand that it is something that's uncertain from day to day.
Mhm.
There are a lot of supports and services. Hospice has a lot of really great groups that aren't always just like lost journey groups or grief groups. A lot of new, more modern progressive groups will talk about concepts and ideas of death. There's also something really cool called the Death Cafe. A lot of different areas have that as well. And once again, it's a great time for different people from different experiences and walks of life and just different areas in terms of their profession, their education, to connect and talk about death and how they feel comfortable with it and the ideas that they apply to it and maybe things that don't make them comfortable. And if you have any of those in your area, drop in, or if you have to register, sign up and then go. It could be a great experience. And it could be something where you sit down and immediately you get up and you leave, but you won't know unless you go. Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Yes. Yes, thank you for sharing that and reminding people that there are resources and supports out there, because death is something that we are all going to experience, whether that's our own death or the death of somebody else that we care about.
Absolutely. Yes. And for the last final destination, what is one death that you would like to see that we have not seen yet?
That is a great question. I don't know, but I'm guessing you already have a thought out answer. So I will defer to you and hear your answer, because I don't know what death I want to see.
Just for me, something that starts with a broken high heel. That's
Oh.
all I just want that as the beginning of whatever cataclysmic thing is going to happen next. Because we all know if you have worn high heels, if one of those little stiletto buddies or one of those chunky heels breaks, you are in trouble wherever you
Mhm.
are, because you could lose
Yeah.
your balance and anything could happen.
Yes. Ooh, that's creative. Well, I'm curious to see now.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Yes.
Yes. Is there anything like just like a small piece like that you would like to see? Like, what is it that something that you have done or you do every day, but you know, like, oh, if this happens with it, like there could be some crazy consequence.
Oh, maybe something with this is gonna be gruesome. You know how
Okay.
people have those extended dog leashes? Maybe something happens with one of those and like somebody gets choked or like decapitated or something by the extended dog leash. The dog is fine. The dog is okay, but
That's,
something
yeah, then
where the
it's
extended dog
fine.
leash creates something.
That totally gives way more meaning to Red Rover. Red Rover, come on over.
Yes.
Yes, yes. And, you know, if you're listening, tell us what you're hoping to see. What everyday object, you know, menaces you, but also provides you a great deal of enjoyment because I feel like we all have them. Um, yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, definitely just, I'm interested to see. I'm very excited to see.
Mhm.
I cannot wait. Um, in terms of 4 and 5, was there any character that you related to?
You know, Tony Todd comes back in the fifth one. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go with him.
Mm.
Doing my job, like I'm there, I'm not being creeper. Like,
Yeah.
how about you?
I'm gonna go with the sawdust in the mall.
Ooh, I love that answer.
And I think because, you know, you're just sitting there, you're doing what you need to do, trying to go about whatever it is, you're just existing. And then someone has to come along and ignite that fire, and you have no choice but to react because they've thrown you in the hot seat, so to speak, right? Yes. But yes, stay tuned. If there are any other film series that you want us to talk about, this has been a lot of fun for us. We've been talking about Final Destination. We've also been watching all of the Saw movies. Please let us know. We would love, love, love to watch movies that you enjoy and talk about them. And until next time, drink your bruja brew, eat those coffin cookies, howl at the moon, and don't forget.
Like, subscribe, follow, comment, and thank you for watching and listening.
Until next time, bye bye.